is the Root Dog Show. Now, here's your host, Rudy Reyes.
Welcome to the Rude Dog Show. This is Rudy Reyes, joined by Alford of Alford Sports Talk Show. That's a lot to say, Alan. How are you? Thanks for coming on again. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here on this awesome show, Rudy. Definitely looking forward to another great time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You know what? Who's not having a great time? New York Jets fans. We're going to dive into that and see what that looks like. And of course, breaking news, or is it breaking news, Alan? We look at Fields, who is benched by the Jets in favor of Tyrod Taylor. I don't know if that's a fan favorite, but it's a better move for the franchise. And that was all leading into the second half between them and the Panthers. Was this overdue, overdone? People going to be crucified tomorrow morning and maybe bring their kerosene and gasoline to the fire? I mean, you tell me what your thoughts were about his first half performance before they inserted Taylor.
Yeah, unfortunately, Justin Fields was having a tough go at it, and I'm not really surprised. There were rumblings about it the game before. You know, what ends up happening is coach need to make a move. You know, the team hasn't won a game. He saw the team needed a spark. And I think I agree with this move. I definitely do think the Jets need a spark. They need to get a win. They need to get something going. And unfortunately for Justin Fields, he just hasn't gotten a lot of offense going.
No, he hasn't got a whole lot of anything going. I guess when you could say the good gets going and the going gets good, I think it's about the going that's going to get better once we're looking into the 2026 season, because that's kind of where it's looking at right now for New York Jets and their fans. Clearly, he was benched because of his inability to read defenses and holding onto the ball way too long. Now, we've talked about this before. I've spoken about this on the show many, many times. And one of the things that he kind of regresses into is to his Chicago Bears days. He didn't have a backup quality quarterback. He had nobody to learn from. Systemically is absolutely horrible with Eberflus as their head coach. Does a lot better with another team named the Dallas Cowboys, but that's another time. We'll talk about that as we get into the further into the show. But when I look at where Justin Fields is and kind of taking him out, look, he's a good guy, good teammate. Everybody says it. He played with the Steelers for a season. He was likable, good guy, good talker, but just not an NFL starter. And it goes back to when you look at his holding on the ball too long at Ohio State. Look, dude, this is not the NCAA. This is the NFL. That means if you don't perform to your standard, Allen, it's not for long for you under center. Are you to see Tyrod Taylor moving forward in the remainder of the season, or are they going to look at the wire and say, well, I guess we can't do too bad with someone else, because I don't think Justin Fields is a yet, and he's more of the out at this point?
No, I think for the now, you're going to see Tyrod Taylor for at least the next few games. They're going to give him a good shot at this going forward. I really like Justin Fields. I'm with you. I really do think, Rudy, that he had a lot of potential, especially when things started out for him with the Bears. He can run, he can throw. It just seemed like he's just regressing, and it gets worse and worse to your point, just holding onto the ball too long, not getting rid of the ball, getting rid of the ball without taking sacks. Just those fundamentals really hurt him. And it's been like this for a while for him. I definitely agree with the move. I just hope that down the road he does get another opportunity, Justin Fields, and he gets a chance to play, because I do think he's a very good player. They call it the NFL, the not for long league, for a reason. And here's a perfect example of it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Or not free lunches, no free lunch for him. I can tell you that much, especially when you go 6 for 12, you have only 46 yards and sacked 3 times because of his escapability, leaves him vulnerable. Not that his offensive line is protecting him, because as far as I'm concerned, they're basically laying him out to dry. But that's just my thought process. I'm not a Jets fan, but I can see the frustration along the offensive line. And look, if you don't have your guys' backs and you don't get stuff done on the field, they're working for nothing. I mean, yeah, they're getting paid individually, but What are they going to win collectively? Absolutely nothing, including not winning a game yet this season. We don't know if that's going to change moving forward. On to coaching for the New York Jets. I'm not, look, whenever I talk about the Jets, I'm not bashing them. I'm just merely stating that they need to get a fire extinguisher to put out the dumpster that continually is on fire. And it's the same dumpster every year in back of the Jets building. Maybe it's at the Meadowlands. I don't know. But Aaron Glenn just seems to be over his head in this situation, especially being a coach. Again, coordinator doesn't necessarily interpret into being a good coach. But more importantly, it's not like he can claim, oh, well, I didn't know. I wasn't sure how this was going to work. I mean, you do your due diligence before you apply for a head coaching position, saying, you know what, this is a team who I thought they were, and I don't think I want this job. I'm better off as a coordinator. He did a great job where he was, and now moving forward, it's hard to fathom. And I can't give him a pass. I can give him a hard pass because I'm hard passing on his coaching ability, at least at this point, until they can maybe get somewhere back to 500. I don't know that for certain. I can't say they're not going to win a game all season long, but if you're a Jets fan, you may as well put out the fire with the fire extinguisher that's designed to put out that kind of fire. With that being said, Alan, I think the amount of quarterbacks that the Jets have gone through, I can name a laundry list. Zach Wilson at a BYU in 2015, Sam Darnold for USC in 2018, who went on to have formidable success in 3 other places, and now he finds himself in Seattle. Christian Hackenberg in 2016 for the New York Jets, and Bryce Petty. Isn't that a race car driver? I'm just kidding. They drafted him out of Baylor in 2015. Do the Jets, I mean, do they need to go and recreate their quarterback situation? I mean, this is more of a systemic problem? What are your thoughts about this quarterback conundrum? Only by, and I say this with complete preface, not like the Cleveland Browns and not like the Chicago Bears. What do the Jets need to do in order to right this ship before this season is forever lost?
That's a great question, Rudy. I definitely do think what they need to do first and foremost is win a game. I think they need to look at the present, get the horses back in, settle them back in. Tyrod Taylor is your guy for now. Go ahead and get a win. You're right. The offensive line doesn't block really well at all, so it makes it very tough on quarterbacks. And for Aaron Glenn, he's a former player. He's a guy that, wanted to take this job because he felt like, you know what, I can do it. Former player. I just think, and I love his spirit. I love what he's doing. It's just that I just think the Jets job is just a tough place to play. You don't have enough talent in the right places, especially the offensive line. But I just think for now, they just need to win a game. Once you get that, I think the wheels will start turning in the right direction. I think they're just a game or two away from at least getting back into this and just go from there. They got to get their first win, though. That's first and foremost.
Yeah, I think if they get the win, it's a monkey off their back. But again, looking at offensive line play, looking at quarterback play, looking at everything that otherwise would look like they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, getting paid millions and millions of dollars. The payroll is relatively high for the New York Jets. We watched the game between the Broncos and the New York Giants. That was a nail biter down to the crunch. Denver comes out with the win at home to go 5-2, and the Giants, which is in the other side of New York, in the, I guess they say a cushy side in Manhattan. I don't know if there's a cushy side in New York at all, but when you look at the Giants themselves, it was just an absolute dogfight down to the very end. And the Broncos got the dub at home. They were down 19 plus points heading into the fourth quarter. So unanswered points that the Giants just could not answer, but they find a way to lose. The New York Jets seem to be losing every single time they touch the football field before the ball's ever snapped. Why? Because we already know what to expect, Alan. The only other team that I really wanted to jump into, again, this is not a bash a quarterback. This is not a bash a team mode. This is about systemic issues that continually become a problem as the season goes on. And the Miami Dolphins are certainly that team that seems to find themselves in a conundrum of trying to win, but just coming up short. The New York Giants, as I previously mentioned, had only lost by field goals in their losses. So it's not as if they got blown out. It wasn't a 34-2 or the Dallas Cowboys score, right? We've seen that game against Washington Commanders. That was 44-22. I mean, get out of here with that. But when you look at Miami, when you look at Tua Tagovailoa, you think to yourself, okay, guys drafted from Alabama. It's a great system. Nick Saban, head coach, drafted in 2020. He seems to know how to rack up the numbers. I give him credit for that. Where I don't give him credit for is obviously you can't expect concussions to play a part of your game, but they are. They're part of the NFL game itself. Those concussions have been nothing but horrible against him. They've hampered him. They've caused him issues. And then his head coach, who doesn't seem to know when to make corrections. Am I wrong, or should I be corrected about McDaniels not doing his job as the head coach? Because his statement was, well, we're messy right now. We need to clean up, things for the second half. What kind of response is that? What is your takeaway from this? And to be honest with you, if I was the owner, Ross, I would have fired McDaniels at halftime, but that's just me. Is McDaniels doing this team a great disservice by staying on as head coach? Granted, he doesn't get fired by tomorrow.
Yeah, McDaniel is really having a rough go at it. What ends up happening is he's been kind of struggling for a while with the Dolphins, not just this season, but last season. And it's really coming to a halt. What ended up happening with Tyreek Hill was unfortunate. Tua has been, definitely having an off year this year. The concussions, I said it before he came back that I think it was time for him to move on. It's not anything personal. It's just that I still feel as if Tua is one really bad concussion away from something serious happening. I give the fact that he's a warrior. He wants to go out there and play and compete. Give him credit for all of that. But at the end of the day, the NFL season, the NFL career is a short period in your life. That's more important as far as I'm concerned. If you have serious brain injury, and you have a lot of money, that's really not going to equate. Your health is your wealth. But I do think McDaniel's in trouble. He is probably the only person who's in the hot seat, probably even hotter than Aaron Glenn, because the Jets did say Aaron Glenn is going to be the quarter. He's going to be the coach for at least the rest of the season. So McDaniels is in a hot seat. He's got to get some wins going. I think the change of quarterback hopefully helps out and gives him a spark.
Well, hopefully so. But the problem that I have when you look at the New York Jets, I look at Aaron Glenn. As I previously mentioned, this is not a free pass for Aaron Glenn at all. He already knew what he was getting himself into. Mike McDaniels, on the other hand, has been there for 4 seasons with the Dolphins. His record is not very good. So he came over in 2022 from the 49ers as a run game maestro. Yeah, that's been somewhat effective, but would you leave with less than a goose egg, or you put 6 points in the Cleveland Browns, who are 2-5 on the season? It just doesn't sit well, and I think things have bottomed out so much inside of the water tank in Miami for McDaniels and his time there. As a matter of fact, Kim Bocamper stated that she saw the brain trust of Stephen Ross and Tom Garfinkel walking down the hall, and they did not look very happy. So I don't know where that's going to go. So that right there should obviously tell you, and you mentioned Tyreek Hill, they don't have all those pieces. Yeah, injuries happen. It's a horrible thing, but it's part of the game, and that's what happens. And sadly enough, when you look at this organization, as has been written, this team can basically kiss their season goodbye at this point, and they're just like the Jets. They can find themselves in a very poor situation, having only won 1 game this year. Okay, fine. So you win 1 game. Wow. Okay. This is a multi-million-dollar franchise when you look at the Miami Dolphins with the Hard Rock Stadium, and you look at the Meadowlands that share with the New York Giants, and Giants find a way to win, and then they find ways, to lose. Neither one of these teams have been great. The only time this New York Jets team, and you could hang the hat on where the Chicago Bears were in 85 and say, well, they were great in 85. Look, man, that ship has sailed. You could look at, a Super Bowl with Joe Namath. Well, that was won, and that was then, and this is now. So you got to know when to hold them, and you got to know when to fold them. Hate to quote Kenny Rogers on it, but at the same token, that's exactly what's going on right now. Again, if you're going to be ownership and take ownership in your team, in your well-being of your organization, you basically you may as well just strip ownership, other pieces of ownership, coaches, including Aaron Glenn, and move, wash, and hopefully not rinse and repeat heading into 2026, because we know come Black Monday, just like we see in the NCAA football season, coaches been fired left and right. Former NFL star, quarterbacks, to guys who have been there a very long time. We've seen it happen in Oklahoma. But look, the bottom line is Aaron Glenn should be packing up his things very, very slowly if they cannot get this team. And I just don't mean one win. I don't mean just 2 wins. I mean, get 3 wins, 4 wins, do something formidable and be consistent, show consistency, even though Aaron Rodgers was there last year. And of course, they had, the aforementioned quarterback in Zach Taylor. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to win. And the Jets decided to start playing and start winning at the end of the season, just like they did. So, something to look forward to if you're a Jets fan. Again, I am not a Jets fan. I'm just a realist. And I see both the Miami Dolphins and the Jets looking for different head coaches. McDaniels will get a coaching spot somewhere, but if he doesn't, he'll become a better coordinator, because again, not all head coaches are created equal. And if you're an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator and you don't make it as a head coach, depending on how good you are, at least as a head coach, you can go back into those ranks. Alan, let's talk about what happened throughout the NFL. There are a lot of interesting games that were played today. Saints played against the Bears. That was a Bears win, 4-2. That's their record. 4-2 for the Bears. 4-2. I can't believe I'm saying it. 4-2. 26-14 against the Saints. I knew coming into the season, and there were questions about the quarterback between Slow and Rattler for the New Orleans Saints that were going to rattle your mind. And they're 1-6. They're 0-3 away. This is not a good football team, but the Bears seem to find a way to win. I mean, look, when you look at DeAndre Swift, 19 carries, 124 yards, 1 touchdown. But then that was kind of all you really needed, because you have Caleb Williams. He's getting a better protection than he did last year. And then you look at, obviously, the Browns, the aforementioned beatdown of the Dolphins, 31-6. That was a very ugly game because Judkins just destroyed them. I mean, he had 24 carries, 84 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. Hello, fantasy. If you don't have him in your fantasy, you're losing out to reality. And the Patriots, the first place New England Patriots under Mike Vrabel. Does this team surprise you coming out of the AFC East being 5-2 for New England without Tom Brady, without Bill Belichick? Does that surprise you?
It actually does not surprise me. Vrabel is an outstanding coach, and Mike Vrabel, and he knows what he's doing. He knows how to get players that will buy in. Not only that, he's a genius as far as offensive mind. He knows how to get the players the most out of them and get them to buy in. I'm not really surprised. He's a fantastic coach. They're clicking on all cylinders. They're doing the right thing. The Patriots, that is, and without Tom Brady, I'm really not. That's one of the great things about the GOAT Tom Brady, is that he is the GOAT, but he also did have some great coaching throughout his career, and that's where it shows, especially in New England. They have a history of having great coaches. Mike Vrabel coming back there, I'm not surprised at all.
What's really surprising is that the Titans, and when we talked about this last week in regards to, firing their head coach, and Scott's going to take over as the interim head coach, it was because of Mike Vrabel that organization lasted as long as it did with the record that they had, meaning that the record would indicate what your organization is actually doing. Sadly enough, the organization is not structured around being a player's coach. They have a system, they have a formula, and that's what they want you to do, despite what you want to do, despite your football knowledge and your awareness. He's a player's coach. And players' coaches in this league, in the NFL, in today's landscape, it's going to go a long way. Even still, I think fundamentally, Mike Vrabel is one of those guys that are able to turn teams around. He tried it in Tennessee. It didn't work because of an organizational failure. And now he comes back home where he has played and has multiple championship rings to verify his coaching authenticity. Now 5-2, first place in the AFC East at 31 over the Tennessee Titans with 13. There's a lot to go in on that one. Speaking of a lot to go in on, and I can't almost swallow this one. And I know that Al Davis is probably rolling in his grave right about now. But when you look at the Raiders and the Chiefs, I mean, you could not get more of a blowout after 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 4 quarters, right? 4 quarters is $1. In this case, the Raiders couldn't even put up 1 point, much less 2. They got blown out, and I mean blown out early and often by a heavy dose of Rashid Rice, who came back from a multiple game suspension. Travis Kelce threw 3 receptions, minuscule 54 yards. Isaiah Pacheco, 1 touchdown, 57 yards, 15 carries. And then Patrick Mahomes, I mean, MVP, I don't know, too early to tell. 26 for 35, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Somehow this offense is clicking. Do you like what you're looking at from the Chiefs right now, who are now 4-3, somehow battled back being down 0-2 this season?
Yeah, they're really coming around. They've got their footing down. I think they were getting hit with a lot of emotions from last year. Then this year, it didn't start off well. I think they kind of were scratching their head. They were losing some confidence, I think, which is not something you're used to with the Chiefs. I think slowly but surely they got a win. They won a couple of close games. Now the Chiefs are old, and it's really, really nice to see Mahomes back to his old self again with the swagger. I really like what the Chiefs are doing. It doesn't feel the same in the NFL when the Chiefs are not in the picture. So I'm glad they're back in it. And also, to your point, I just think bad culture isn't just something that people say is a cliche. It's a real thing. I think with the Raiders, they're starting to get, they're starting to feel the losses and starting to kind of tank it a little bit as a team. There's no reason why a team as good as the Raiders should be shut out against the Chiefs. You should put something on the board. They have enough weapons on there. You got a high draft pick in there. They're running back. Definitely there's something going on with the Raiders. I think they may have to look into checking into the culture, because there's no reason for you to get shut out. As great as the Chiefs are, they're not that, shut you out type great. Something's going on with the Raiders.
Well, the AFC West knows each other just like every other division of football. You play your opponent twice, every single year, interdivision. This is a must-win for the Raiders, to say the very least, to keep their season at least, with a wooden plank in the ocean, hanging onto it for dear life. But I mean, at 2-5, are you kidding me? They're 1-3 away from home, and Kansas City crawls in it. They're 3-1 at home at Giha. This just says a lot more about how bad the Raiders are than how good the Chiefs actually are. That Eagles game was quite interesting against the Vikings. Despite the surge from the Vikings nearing the end of the fourth quarter, it was almost as if the Vikings shot themselves in the foot. Of course, they lost 28-22, but that was the closest game that I seen. And then you get into the 1 o'clock window where you've seen, the aforementioned, Dallas Cowboys game, which looked like it was close for a minute. And then Dallas blew the doors open. They're home in Arlington, the house that Jerry built. But the Eagles themselves, 5-2, the defending champions, 3-1 away from home. They creeped out with a victory of Minnesota. Jalen Hurts, 19 for 23, 326 yards and 3 touchdowns. So a lot to like about this revived wide receiving core between Devontae and Brown. So it's almost as if they've kind of rekindled the bromance, if you will, in regards to the receiving core in the room and getting everybody on the same page. I guess those outside meetings really helped the Eagles as they go on 28-22. What did you think about this game? And did you believe that the Eagles could actually pull this out, not only on the road, but against a very formidable Minnesota Vikings team?
Yeah, Rudy, I'm actually not surprised on this at all. I knew the Eagles were going to go ahead and start clicking when it comes to the passing game. What ended up happening is Saquon Barkley's got off to a little bit of a slow start. I hope he turns it around because he was on the Madden cover. He's starting to fall into place with that Madden curse. Unfortunately, I pray that he turns it around quickly. But yes, it's been a slow start for a season for Saquon Barkley. I predicted this game that they were going to start passing the ball more. And lo and behold, they did. A.J. Brown got hot. Devontae Smith got hot. Jalen Hurts, he is playing insane. And not only that, what I loved about it, he has a perfect passer rating too today, which has not been done. And he was just on fire. That deep ball, he had it. Devontae Smith, those are teammates too. That's a Heisman winner. I know it's been a while, but yes, it was great to see the Eagles. Was not surprised at all on that game. In fact, in fantasy, I put in AJ Brown today, and he had a huge day. So I picked the right thing today.
Well, there you go. And for everybody out there picking the fantasy, if you didn't pick Devontae Smith to get it done, or Jalen Hurts to go over 300 yards, well, you lost out on that one. Must have had somebody in your slot like maybe Justin Fields. So look at another game here between the Panthers and the Jets. Now this is quite interesting because we talked about how bad the Jets are. They're 0-7. They're 0-5 at home. A lot of goose eggs. I don't like goose eggs. I do like eggs, but not goose eggs, especially when you're an NFL team. Panthers are 4-3. Unbelievable. Bryce Young exited this game, appeared to be a high ankle injury. He did not return. 15 for 25, 138 yards and 1 touchdown. So that speaks to his credit. I believe, based on what I've watched of Bryce Young, he's maturing before our eyes. Is he going to be that star quarterback, the one that's just going to blow up the screen every time you watch him play, with every time he touches a ball? No, probably not. And I don't say that to discredit him. I say that because he still has a lot to learn. And the fact alone that he is shorter in today's NFL, guys are taller, defensive linemen are like giants. You see Darnell Washington for the Steelers, who's like, I don't know, I think he's 6'8" or 7'1" or some nonsensical number like that. Just a big dude, could easily play on the offensive line without fail, and would push people around just like Broderick Jones does for Pittsburgh on the other side of that line. But when I look at this game, I think to myself, my gosh, Dowdle, 17 carries, 79 yards, Leggett, 9 receptions, 92 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, this number didn't blow me away. What blew me away was the fact alone that Justin Fields was pressured as much as he was, sacked a couple of times, and just absolutely obliterated. I don't want to go into this one a whole lot because the Panthers just seem to be, on the right track. They're definitely keeping pace in the NFC overall. And there's still tons of football to be played, so I'm not going to take a whole lot of time on that one. What really surprised me was this London game between the Rams and the Jaguars. And funny thing about this was as good as Trevor Lawrence had of a game at 296 yards, 1 touchdown, 23 for 48. The Jaguars just did not get off on the right foot. And I know Travis Hunter was designed to be this dual spot, guy on the wide receiving core, or maybe a cornerback. And yeah, he could probably still do both, I imagine. But when I look at this game, this is all Rams. I mean, all Rams. 12 carries, 53 yards for Kyron Williams without coughing it up, which he's been prone to do. Hunter, he had that 8 receptions, 101 yards, and that single touchdown, which is his first touchdown as a wide receiver. So Matthew Stafford, I mean, even without Puka Nacua, these guys are just on fire. They're not the defending Super Bowl champions, but they have that pedigree. They've done this for a minute. 14 points in the first, second, 2 points, none in the third, and then 14. So just laid it on and poured it all over the Jaguars. And I think Jaguars are relatively, I don't know, overrated perhaps. They do look better than they have in years past. Lots of conversation about Trevor Lawrence, how he's going to come back, how he's going to be this better quarterback. What surprised you most, the Rams win or the way that the Jaguars lost this game despite all the great numbers that were put up by Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, it was really disappointing to see the Jags go all the way to London and really not bring their game with them overseas, so to speak. that's the thing. It was disappointing because the Rams, they were clicking on all cylinders. I watched this game. It was just anemic on the Jacksonville Jaguars to get anything going. And I really wanted this game to at least be a really nice competitive two-sided affair, just
Right.
because you are going overseas, you are in a showcase game. Props to the Rams doing everything they could, just blowing out the Jags. And it's disappointing for Trevor Lawrence and I would say the Jags because they have a lot of weapons. They got Liam Cohn from the Bucks, albeit controversial ways, but you know what it is. Props to that he did finally get his first catch, his first touchdown. That is, I would say, but it's one of those things that they just, I just feel as if the team is starting to see dissension between players. I do think there is something between Liam Cohn and Trevor Lawrence. I do think I know they played it off the first time, but I don't think it's something that they played off completely. I do think there's some underlying issue. I don't know if it's
Right.
respect thing or play calling, but I do feel as if something's going on there. And I unfortunately do feel as if it's going to get worse. Props to Travis Hunter for getting his first touchdown, albeit game 7.
Right. Yeah, no, it looks as though things are kind of trending in the right direction. And I guess the replacement players is who flew to London and not the real players for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This late 1:00 game, again, as I mentioned earlier, was a nail biter. It went down to the wire. 32 points scored by New York, 33 by the Broncos. I had tweeted out the Giants had won. At least I thought they had won before that field goal was kicked by the Broncos to win the game. So obviously I'll make that correction. But Jackson Dart, 15 for 33, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns. The interception was ill-fated. He should have never thrown that ball at all. He should have either taken the sack or thrown it sideways out of bounds. Something would have been better than throwing an interception. J.K. Dobbins for the Denver Broncos, 14 carries, 81 yards. Good for him. And then Robinson, 6 receptions, 95 yards. So the Broncos, Bo Nix scoring that touchdown and putting them in position to win. This came down to the last 2 seconds of the game to kick your game winner at home. And now the Broncos are 5-2. They're 3-0 at home, which is very interesting because I didn't see them going 3-0 at home, maybe 2-1. Maybe 1-2, but to go at home 3-0, there's definitely something at that 5280 air. Believe me, I lived there, so I know that all too well. Was it more surprising that the Giants lost by 1 point, or was it more surprising the Broncos were able to continue their win streak at home?
I think it's more surprising with Jackson Dart throwing that interception. I know he's been playing great, but I'm not surprised with the Broncos. The Broncos actually have a very, very good team. Well coached, Peyton, Sean Payton, he knows what he's doing. He's a great coach. And the great thing about them is their defense. Their defense is phenomenal. It always keeps them in the game. And with Jackson Dart, these are the things that happens when you're a young rookie. You try to sometimes make things happen. He had a great game the last game. I can understand the feeling of trying to just push that, take that towel and wring it dry just a little bit more. And he threw an ill-advised pass. So these things do happen. Sure. So, there's no reason to panic if you're a Giants fan. They'll be fine. But yes, the Broncos, props to them. They're doing great things. I love their team. They don't have a big offense, but you always notice they're always in every game because that defense is stellar.
Exactly. Defense wins championships, but you have to have a little smidgen or slice of offense in order to help kind of keep pace with what the defense is doing. And when the defense does their job and puts you in the right position to score that win, that's all you can ask for. So kudos to the Broncos for getting that done. And then there was a blowout, which I did not expect to happen for a couple of reasons. First of all, Jaden Daniels comes back, plays under center, then he goes out with an injury, does not return. Marcus Mariota, we know what we're getting from him, just like we know we're getting from Geno Smith, just like we know we're getting from Jacoby Brissett. All these guys are a poor man's Jay Cutler from the Bears. Always an injury, always seen on the sidelines. Oh, my elbow. Oh, my knee, my this, my that. The guy got paid more money than any quarterback that the Bears have ever had. And I'm sure Coach Mike Ditka's probably fuming right about now over that one, because for him, it's all about defense. Commanders just got blown out by double digit, 22 points, in fact, 3-4, 1-3 away. 3-3-1 are the Cowboys. The one is the tie. Obviously, we know what
Yeah, props to
about.
Dak Prescott. He was
2-0-1
playing.
at home. Dak Prescott had a game, and he gets the game ball.
He did. He was
He
playing
was.
lights
He was
out.
playing
He
lights out.
definitely
21
deserved.
for 30.
Yeah, he definitely deserved that.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Game ball.
264 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, no doubt about it. I will give that. I'll even autograph it for him if you'd like. But I don't know how that will work out. And then Falcons playing right now against the 49ers. We can do it. We could pull a prediction out of this one. I like where the Falcons are at right now. Yes, the 49ers lost their last game with Mac Jones under center, but I'm impressed with Mac Jones. I'll be honest with you. I did not see Mac Jones just being inserted into this offense like pepper on eggs and expect for him to do anything other than maybe manage the game. But he has taken this team on his shoulders, on his back, playing like no other. They're 4-2. They're 1-1 at home. This game is being played at home. I'm going to have to go, even though the Falcons won a great game last weekend, I'm going with the home team. I'm picking the 49ers. I'd say 27-21 would be my final. You have a prediction for this one?
Yeah, I do think the 49ers are going to pull this one out. They definitely do need to win this game, the 49ers. Mac Jones has been playing fantastic, filling in really nicely for Brock Purdy. I just think that with the Falcons, they got something really going. But if the 49ers want to win this game, there's two words: B. John Robinson. They got to contain him. He is sensational. He's a fantastic player. If the 49ers have a chance, they got to stop him. And if you're on the flip side, you got to stop Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey had a game. He comes into this game with 444 yards, 3 touchdowns on 46 receptions. So if that doesn't tell you to double this guy or to make sure that this is not just a bump and run situation, if you're a man or if you're in cover 2, you better make sure you knock this guy out early and often, because he will tear you apart. He's a machine. We've seen it on display last weekend. Let's switch over to a different sport. Of course, we know what's going on in Major League Baseball as the Mariners take on in Game 6 between them and the Seattle Mariners at Rogers in Canada. So quite interesting of a game. And tonight is basically Game 6. We looked at what the Dodgers did to the Brewers. This was a quite interesting matchup. Brewers came into this game thinking, well, we're the underdogs and we don't have anything to lose, and trying to play the card of, well, we'll probably get a win or what have you. No, they didn't get a win. They didn't basically score anything. Were shut out in Game 4 of the NLCS, where the Dodgers, okay, fine. So they have the biggest payroll in Major League Baseball, but the Brewers had won more games than any team in baseball. And so they come into this game at home, or excuse me, they were in LA, and they just, I don't know, they came into this during the regular season having 80 games won against the Dodgers. The Brewers held the Dodgers to an 8-game winning streak that ended with Shohei Ohtani. Oh, and let's not get into Shohei Ohtani. No, let's actually get into Shohei Ohtani, because when he came into this game, he's like the Babe. If you took Babe Ruth, you took a handful of other all-star players, maybe a pinch of Pete Rose, maybe a little bit of, Randy Johnson on the mound. You take a little bit from this player, that player. The guy is a phenom. He's the first player in Major League Baseball history ever. Goes out with a bang, 446 feet, becomes the first Major League Baseball pitcher ever to lead off homer in either regular or postseason game. Now that is special. What he did, and then he followed it up with another 469 moonshot. And then, if that wasn't good enough, a 427 solo shot that looked like it was going to hit one of the satellites in outer space for a home run. Ohtani, dominant, both sides, on the mound, at the plate. The guy is a phenom. He is who Travis Hunter is to the Jacksonville Jaguars, at least in the equivalent, because he can do a variety of things. Will the Jaguars give him as much room as the Dodgers have given Ohtani? Probably not. Why? Because the Dodgers are going to the World Series, but they're waiting on the Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners and the winners of those two games to find out who they're going to be paired up against. What are your thoughts about the Dodgers? Was this like the most monumental win for the Dodgers in baseball history, or is just another segue into getting into the World Series to give it that much more glamour when they play in LA against either the Jays or the Mariners?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rudy. I just think the Dodgers are the team to beat. I said it several times, throughout the season, that I just feel as if the Dodgers have everything they need to win. They can beat you with Shohei Ohtani doing his thing, hitting home runs out of the ballpark, or they can beat you small ball. The team is they have the experience. They know what they're doing. They have outstanding players. So it's really the Dodgers. And the only people who really can beat the Dodgers themselves, I feel, in a series. As long as they do their thing, they're going to go ahead and win this World Series. As far as Shohei Ohtani, this guy is the modern day Babe Ruth, but I would even say he's even, in my view, better than Babe Ruth, because if you look at it, the competition is a lot stiffer. You have guys that can throw a lot harder now than they did versus Babe Ruth. You have, it's segregated now. He is just a phenom. He's an outstanding player, and 3 home runs in the NLCS is just fantastic. I just think he's something special, and he's going to continue on. I do hope on the ALCS side that the Mariners do close it out and they do get it, because it'll be the first time they would go ahead and be in the World Series. I don't see either one of those two teams, though, beating the Dodgers.
No, neither one have a recipe to really beat the Dodgers because of the amount of talent that LA has on their side. But to give you some insights into this game between them and the Blue Jays, Cal Raleigh's pacing the Mariners right now with 60 long balls and runs batted in, driving in 125. That's 125 ribbies. That's not an easy task, and he's a catcher. So look at that. Maybe an MVP caliber kind of guy. I would say so. Even if they don't win it all, at least you know that you got a guy by the name of Cal Raleigh that can get it done for years to come for the Mariners. Julio Rodriguez batting 267, 31 doubles, 4 triples, 32 home runs, and 44 walks. The guy draws more walks than my grandmother across the street. But he's also 17th amongst batters in the big leagues in home runs and 20th in RBI. So certainly something to look out for. Josh Naylor, obviously the guy is an absolute beast. Do whatever you need to. Not the most fleet of foot guy, but he'll get you the bases if you need him. He'll steal them. I mean, he'll put them back, but I mean, he'll steal them initially. He has a .295 batting average. And then Suarez batting 228 with 28 doubles, 49 home runs, and 46 walks. He's probably following Julio Rodriguez in another walker across the opposite street. And then you look at the Blue Jays, Vladimir Guerrero. I mean, you can say a lot of things about Vladimir Guerrero. Could he take a page out of his dad's book? Perhaps. He's hitting 292 with 34 doubles, 23 home runs, and 81 walks. He's probably in first place as far as a walker contest across the street. Guerrero 62nd in home runs, 43rd in RBIs. He's collected a hit in 3 games in a row. And his last 5 outings, he's hitting .639. He's just an absolute beast. George Springer, 32 home runs. He's 17th in homers, 43 on RBIs this season, despite getting that knee nicked earlier in this series against the Mariners. He's basically in 10 games, he's batting .302 with 5 doubles, 4 home runs. And then Ernie Clement batting 277, 35 doubles, 2 triples, 9 home runs, and 27 walks. So he's in last place in that grandma walking across the street gig. But nevertheless, The Blue Jays and the Mariners have matched up so well. This is why we're having a game 6. And to your point, I think that the Dodgers have way too much power, way too many solid players, way too consistent. Yeah, we look at the early part of the season and say, well, they lost some, they went on a losing, skid or whatnot. But it happens. It happens to all teams, and not just the ones that are in LA. Lakers, obviously, one of those teams which I'll be turning my attention to as soon as regular season kicks off for the NBA. But overall, Alan, good stuff. I love your time. I love your swag. You got a lot of great stuff going on. Where can everybody find you, contact you, reach out to you, and connect with you on?
Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you for that. You can always reach me at, there you go, Alan Alford. Just type in Alan Alford, AlanAlford on all social media platforms, and I'll be there. YouTube, Alan Alford, IG, Alan Alford _. And it's definitely great to have new fans come on board, and always great to be on this show. This is outstanding. Rudy, you have something fantastic going on. It's always an honor and pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Alan. I appreciate you, and good luck with everything you have going on. I want to mention my sponsor, and I'm going to give them massive props. These guys have been in the business a very long time. And if you want smart betting, you want smart sports, if you want to know exactly who these guys are, they're Bankroll U. They're my proud, welcomed, and added sponsor to the RootDogShow.com. First of all, go to their website. You'll understand their smart betting algorithm. Secondly, what you'll also see is that they have an app designed for you. You can get that on the App Store. Just look Bankroll U, and throw them a follow on social media at the Bankroll _U, and they'll be able to assist you with whatever betting questions, whatever needs you might have. They'll be happy to address those and hopefully get into a smart betting process. Some of the smartest betting processes you'll see in today's day and age of betting. With that being said, Alan, thanks again. We'll talk to everybody soon. This is Rudy Reyes on the Root Dog Show. Go to YouTube, subscribe, the Root Dog Show, LinkedIn, Instagram, Rudy R. Reyes. You can find me here on X. Throw me a follow as well at Rude Dog Reyes. And of course, stay tuned for the next show. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the game 6, and of course, Sunday Night Football tonight. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you too.